If you've written a good script and nobody is saying yes to your film, I want you to hear this clearly. It's not because you're not talented, and it's probably not because you need to rewrite the script again. There's something else going on. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. I'm Joyce Michon. I'm a filmmaker, executive producer with almost 20 years of experience in film and television, HBO Max, TLC, Food Network, Amazon Prime, Apple TV. And I help indie filmmakers raise capital and get their projects funded strategically. And the pattern I see over and over again is always the same. It's not a script problem. So let's talk about what it actually is. Because if you're sitting with a project you believe in and you can't get anyone to move, then this is for you. Okay, so here's the thing that nobody tells you early enough. The industry doesn't fund scripts. It funds projects. And those are not the same thing. Okay, so a script is one piece of the puzzle. It's an important one, but it's just one piece. A project is something that gives people confidence. Confidence that this can actually get made, that there's an audience for it, that there's a realistic path to getting their money back, or at the very least, getting the film seen. And if those things aren't clear, then the answer is no, even if they love the writing. And I see this all the time, right? A filmmaker is in this loop of the script is good, why isn't this working? So they go back and they make it better, or they do another pass and they get more coverage, they workshop it some more, and none of that actually moves the project forward. Because at a certain point, it's not about the script anymore. It's about everything around the script. And there's a word that gets thrown around a lot in this industry, packaging. And I want to demystify it because people hear that word and immediately they're thinking, okay, I need a big actor. I need a famous director. I need to know the right people. And those things are important, but it's not exactly what we're talking about. Packaging at its core is how you present your project so that somebody can say yes. It's how you communicate what this is, why it matters, who it's for, and why it's worth investing in. And strong packaging has 4 specific elements. Okay. These are also not coincidentally exactly what investors and producers are evaluating when they look at your project. So let's walk through them. Okay, so the first one is clarity of concept. Can you explain what this film is in a way that's simple, compelling, and specific? Or does it take 5 minutes and a lot of context to understand? Because if somebody's confused, they can't say yes. It's that simple. A clear log line, a concise way to talk about the story, a vision that feels intentional and grounded. These aren't just marketing materials, right? They're the difference between a conversation that goes somewhere and one that doesn't. Okay, the second element is a defined audience. And I'm going to be really specific here because everybody will love this is not an answer, right? A real audience is something that you can point to. That could be genre, right? Horror, thriller, true crime, faith-based films. These audiences have built-in behavior. They show up, they have a track record, right? Or it could be a niche subject matter, right? A specific community, a cultural movement, a world that already has passionate people in it. It could be existing IP, a book, a podcast, a true story that already has traction, or it could be talent attachments, collaborators who already bring an audience with them. And here's why this matters so much, because funders aren't just betting on your taste, right? They're looking for signals that this audience actually exists and that this type of film has worked before. Also that there's a pathway, a real pathway to reaching these people. So instead of asking, do people like this idea, start asking, where have I already seen this audience show up? What films feel adjacent to this? What are they already watching or supporting or paying for? And when you can clearly articulate who that is and why you know they exist, right? You're no longer just pitching a story, you're presenting an opportunity. The third element is realistic scope. So does this budget match the reality of this project? And I'm going to be direct about this because it's one of the fastest ways that somebody in the industry can tell whether you understand how films actually get made. And if you're presenting a project that would realistically cost $5-10 million to produce, but there are no meaningful attachments and no track record for this team and no clear path to that level of financing, that raises a red flag immediately. And not because the idea is bad, right? But because it signals a gap in understanding. It's telling a producer or investor, this person may not know what it actually takes to execute this. And that's what scares people off. On the flip side, when the budget, the concept, the resources, and the plan all feel aligned, that builds confidence quickly, right? It says this person understands the level that they're operating at. There's a path here. And it doesn't mean that you can't think big. It just means that your strategy has to match your ambition. Okay, the fourth element here is a clear path forward. Not just what happens next, but a real strategy for how this project gets made and reaches its audience. What's the realistic timeline? How does this get packaged? What funding strategy makes sense for this specific film? And ultimately, how does this get in front of people once it's done? Because making the film is really only part of the equation, right? You also need a path to distribution and visibility. And it doesn't mean that you need every single detail figured out right now, but it does mean that you're doing the strategic thinking and you're not just saying, I wrote a great script and now somebody else will figure out the rest, right? You're showing I understand the moving pieces and I have a plan. That shift matters because when somebody reads your project in that context, now they're not just evaluating the writing. They're evaluating a real opportunity that has been thought through. So here's where I want to take this out of theory and into something you can actually use. If people aren't saying yes to your project right now, there is a gap. And instead of assuming it's just the industry or I just need more connections, get specific. Look at your project and ask, where would somebody lose confidence? Is it the clarity of the concept? Is it that you can't clearly articulate who the audience is? Is it that the scope doesn't feel grounded? The budget doesn't match the reality? Is it that there's no clear plan for how this actually gets made and seen? Or is it the way you're presenting the project overall? Because once you identify the gap, then you can fix it. But if you don't identify it, then you're staying in that loop. It's good, so why isn't this working, right? And that loop can really last a long time. So here's your action step and keep it simple. Pick one area where your project feels unclear or incomplete, just one, and improve that piece. Not everything all at once, one thing that increases confidence. That's how momentum starts. Okay, so now that you understand why good scripts don't get funded, the next question is, how do you actually build out your project so that it has all four of those elements working together? And that's where everything really starts to shift. And that's exactly what we're going to break down in the next video. So click here and let's keep going.